episode of, oh my gosh, Hawk Talk. I blanked for a second and I have no idea why. It's good to be back. I'm joined by the esteemed crew of Creston, Austin, Zach, Brendan, and Mason. Freshly back from break. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, pretty good.
Don't like the weather.
Better than the weather.
Oh my gosh, dude, the weather is so bad. I'm so sick of it at this point. It like switched from rain to snow like 8 times while I was walking to Sam's car today. Like it was insane. But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about sports. And today's obscure sport is zorbing. I'm pretty sure everybody has seen this one at one time or another, whether it be online or you were actually in the like inflatable thing or whatever. But I definitely didn't know it was a sport until probably about 2 days ago. So with that being said, let's hear your guys' thoughts on it. If you have any personal experience or if you just seen the videos, starting with Kristen.
Yeah, I've just kind of seen the videos, obviously on like TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Looking more into it, I found some interesting things. Little small rules is that you can't wear clothes with zippers, you can't wear jewelry, and you have to have empty pockets. Obviously, the ball is like the main thing, so you don't want to pop it, rip it, do anything like that. But I feel like this is kind of like a childhood dream. Like, I feel like we all remember kind of like rolling down a hill sideways, kind of like just running down hills. And I feel like that's just kind of like out of a childhood's dream is just getting a big inflatable ball, rolling it down a hill, being inside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like that's...
It is a very cool thing. And you only find out about these kind of sports on this show from Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge WSUW Whitewater.
I feel like it's a little dangerous, honestly.
What?
I mean,
it's literally like cushion.
Just listen. So if you're like in a full compact thing, if you're claustrophobic, that's like your worst nightmare.
I mean, yeah. Then I don't think you'd be doing it regardless.
The thing too with like losing air, like oxygen in there, can't always be good. As well as like, say if you're rolling down a hill and there's like a sharp rock that tears your thing. I mean, then it deflates and you're still rolling. So I feel like there's a good chance you could easily like break an ankle, because your momentum's going so fast. You're not going to be able to stop yourself. You're just going to have to just be the ball then.
Be the ball?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how would you stop that then?
You don't.
You don't stop it. Okay. Valid answer.
Yeah, this is just awesome. Like, this is always something that I've wanted to do. Like you said, childhood dream. I've always wanted to do this. Whether that's like doing it while playing soccer, just absolutely like decking someone or just getting decked, I think would be just awesome. Speaking of rolling down a hill, I was looking at, just have a random statistic. I always do with these obscure sports for whatever reason, but the current record for speed while rolling down a hill in a Zorb is 32 miles per hour. So I don't know how the dude stopped, but I mean, he was going insanely fast on that.
Wow, jeez.
He was living the childhood dream right there.
That's going past the speed limit in a residential zone. It's crazy.
I think I'd just get claustrophobic to Austin's point. It looks super fun rolling down hills at fast speeds, like, like a childhood dream to Creston's point. But I don't know. I feel like my claustrophobia would get the best of me. One thing that I found about zorbing, there's one zorbing park, adventure park in the United States. It's in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and they have a bunch of different courses, some ranging from easy to advanced. And they can say that you can be 5 years and up and do it. So they have like they have like little kiddie courses, and then they have like some that are meant for like people that are serious zorbers, I guess. So it's pretty cool, but there's only one in the US, and it's in my home state of Tennessee on the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. So that'd be pretty cool to try at least once.
I mean, dude, 5 years old.
Yeah, that was like, oh my God. And then apparently you can also have up to 3 people in one ball. Like I said, my claustrophobia just says says no.
I'd like to do it once. Out from that, yeah.
I'd like to do it once, but no.
I personally think it would be fun to do, but we've kind of mentioned it. But like, how do you stop? How do you stop? Because you're literally just a ball. So you're just gonna keep on rolling and rolling. Like all these pictures I'm looking at, there's like a barrier and there's trees everywhere. So you're probably gonna hit a tree. Hopefully you got you should have some cushion, but also like looking at it like. These balls are like $800 too, so I'm good. Yes. I would prefer to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen these at like a couple parks that I've been to. I've wanted to do it. I think there's one in Illinois that has it. They also have like that little track thing with the lever and you like pull the brake. I think it's at that same park. But I mean, when you add the chance of injury with your legs, like you said, Austin, I didn't really think of that. I was just thinking about going down a hill very fast, and I mean, I would love to do that. Also, something interesting about this is that I thought that zorbing was like a relatively new thing, like probably like 2014 or so. They've been doing this since 2001, so older than me, which is, I mean, unbelievable in itself. But with that being said, we're going to move into our first topic of the day. Who will cut the net? This is basically just a recap of the past 2 weeks of the March Madness, you guys' brackets. I know that you guys wanted to talk about upsets and stuff over break that would happen. And yeah, who would like to speak their mind first?
Well, I would like to go first just because I need to issue an apology to Purdue fans.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have trashed Purdue like pretty much every single show
Same.
whenever we've talked about it because, okay, there was reason for it, right? They lost to a 16 seed. They lost to a 14 or 13 seed the year before. I didn't really see them going that far. Zach Edey just gets a lot of fouls and goes to the free throw line all the time. But other than that, I mean, he's doing really well. He's averaged 30 points and 16 rebounds so far. Teams don't really seem to have an answer for him. Now, this NC State matchup is going to be very interesting just because DJ Burns, I mean, dude's like 6'9", 270. So I feel like with his size, I feel like he could be able to like disrupt Edey in a way. But first of all, I just had to, apologize to Purdue fans. But just going back to NC State, I mean, that for me is the big surprise team of the tournament. I mean, you don't often see 11 seeds make it this far, especially to the Final Four. And I do believe if they win, then this would be the lowest seed ever to make it to a championship game, I believe, as an 11 seed. So that's something I would really like to see. I don't think they're beating UConn. I mean, UConn has dominated every single team they've played. I don't think they've won by less than 17
I think
points.
18 is their lowest margin of victory.
Something like that. But, I mean, my goodness, I don't see any team beating them. I think they're going to kill Alabama, personally. Their defense is not good. I think they're going to kill them. So.
I mean, I side with you, too. I have UConn winning the whole thing. I've had that from the get-go. But so for the Purdue-NC State game, who do you have winning that?
Who do I want to win? I want NC State to win because I want to, seem a little bit right. But I do think Purdue's probably going to pull it out because I think the more interesting matchup would probably be UConn and Purdue. For the championship game.
Okay. I want you to know that when I was watching the Purdue game on Sunday, I was thinking of you the whole time, and I was like, man, I'm so glad they're playing so good.
It's just, in my opinion, has been a really boring year for March. I mean, I still watch every game because March Madness is my favorite thing, but it just didn't seem like there were that many Cinderellas. And even though NC State is an 11 seed, they're still a Power 5. And granted, they're a missed buzzer beater against Virginia in the conference tournament away from not even being in the tournament at all. So it is a really cool story. But they were a pretty popular upset pick. A lot of brackets had them going to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. So while it's a surprise, like in a sense they made it to the Final Four, it really wasn't terribly unexpected. When I think of a Cinderella, I think of a team like Grand Canyon, who almost beat Alabama in the round of 32, or a team like McNeese, who I was really high on, who got slaughtered by Gonzaga.
Oh, big time.
So just overall, and just in terms of this year's bracket, and maybe it's because my brackets weren't that great, so that could be a reason for it too, but I just really haven't been that impressed with it. It's probably going to be Purdue-UConn national championship, and I just don't see anyone stopping UConn right now. Dan Hurley is insane. He's a nut job, but he gets the best out of his players. And to Zach's point, I mean, they haven't won a game. They haven't won a game by less than 17 points this entire tournament, and it's just ridiculous what they're doing. I think Bama actually gives them the best game out of any team still remaining in the Final Four just because of how well Alabama shoots the three ball. If Bama can shoot 46, 47% from three across the whole game, I think there's a chance. But besides that, I don't see Purdue, NC State, or Bama beating UConn, and it's not even going to be close. I got UConn beating Purdue by 15 in the national championship.
By 15? Okay. Wow. Just curious, how many points do you think Zach Edey's going to have that game?
Against UConn, I still think he puts up a modest 26. I just think UConn's perimeter defense will just shut down all three-point shooters, and then once all the attention's on Edey, he'll get clocked up by the second half, and UConn's just going to run away. I was really expecting Illinois to give a much better game in the first half. Illinois played really, really well. And I was like, hey, this might be the team to beat UConn. And then it's just they entered like this new just zone, this flow state per se, 30-0 run, and held Illinois scoreless for the first 8 minutes of the second half. And at that point, I knew I was like, no one's beating UConn. It sucks that we're gonna have a back-to-back champion, but it's gonna happen. It's UConn's turn to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be crazy to see, and I do agree with you with the not too many Cinderella stories. I mean, it does feel like the rankings, how they were, is kind of how it went, except for NC State, the 11th going against the first with Purdue. But I mean, yeah, I would have liked a little bit more surprises. There is one surprise that I'll get to a little bit later that, I mean, really shocked me, but like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit later. Mason?
I'm just upset. Just number one, we were live when the whole entire Nevada thing was going down. That was a wreck. That kind of set me off going into spring break and everything. But I was actually feeling really well. Like I had all my Final Four teams still alive, and it was like Arizona went down, and then within 5 minutes of each other, Creighton and Houston went down. So I was like, oh right,
dude.
And then the Illinois thing happened, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, okay, I'm playing for like nothing at this point. But just looking at it, like I'd love to see NC State win, just like an underdog story and everything. Just like everybody else has said, like UConn in that Illinois game, it just flipped a switch. It was insane to watch that game. Illinois put up a good fight in the first half, but just UConn came out firing the second half, and it showed that they won and everything. But I'd personally like to see like an NC State, like Alabama one, just because we've seen UConn and Purdue in it so many times. But personally, I agree with the whole entire UConn versus Purdue, most likely.
I like it. So you had Creighton beating Tennessee?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, see, I feel like if I would have made a bracket, I would have had that too, because before the tournament started, I saw how Creighton was playing, and they were insane from like the three range and in the paint. I mean, I could have seen them making it a little bit further than they did. So I think you're the first person that I've talked to that would agree with me on them beating Tennessee.
Yeah, the worst part was like those two games, like the Creighton-Tennessee game and then the Houston-Duke game were so close. So like I was trying to like flip the channel back and forth, and then you were just yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, I totally agree with Brendan, actually. I just feel like I've watched a bunch of games and I'm kind of like, meh. Like,
There was like in previous years, you have St. Peter's, we had Princeton last year. It's just like it seems like that spark of like really like finding a team to root for. Like we had Oakland against Kentucky, and they almost beat NC State. But it just seems like throughout the whole tournament, like that like spark, that like passion, like that team that you really want to rally behind just wasn't there. Didn't mean to interfere, but.
And then for me, like, no, you're good. But like we had Yale beat Auburn, and then they lost by 30. Duquesne won, but then they lost by 26. It's like all these teams that upset and busted bracket. It's like, but what did you do after that? It's like the only one is NC State at this point, and I don't know. I just feel like I do feel like UConn and Purdue will make it to the end, but yeah, I feel like the mid majors did show out a little bit, showing that they can compete with the Power Fives. But then yeah, depending on who they played after that, they just got cakewalked in the next round.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to talk about the Florida-Colorado game in the first round.
Best game of the tournament.
Yeah, 202
That
points
was awesome.
combined, which is absolutely insane. That was just a really fun game to watch. Like, you almost didn't want to turn the channel because you might miss 30 points by the time you came back. So yeah, that was definitely the game of the tournament so far.
Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't happen that often. I wish there was like more of that. Like, I also wish there was a little bit more upsets and kind of like how Oakland was playing. Like, I would have really rather had that, because I feel like last year there was so much that happened that just destroyed a lot of brackets, like so quick. Like, I feel like there was only one number one seed left after the first week or so. I could be wrong, but
You're
it was insane last year, and then you have this, and it's just so disappointing.
2 1 seeds, and it just feels like so like stagnant.
Yeah.
Because last year there wasn't a single 1 seed in the Final Four, and now this year it just seems like the two teams that America picked to win it all are going to play in the national championship. But just to me, it's like,
Yeah, it's like in most scenarios you want the best team to play the best team, but I mean, when it comes to March Madness, you just want like surprising stories and a winning bracket. But I mean, one is more likely than the other.
Have you guys seen that DJ Burns is getting like NFL hype too?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought
Yeah.
that was like an April Fool's
No.
joke because that's real.
Yeah.
unbelievable,
Apparently,
dude.
as an O lineman, I
Yeah,
believe, just
like
'cause
a-
his footwork is
yeah.
so good. In the
And he's
paint.
6'9".
It's huge, man.
Seahawks draft him. We need him.
I feel like the problem this year is, like you said, Brendan, there weren't any Cinderella stories. If there was an upset, it was like one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were out. And it just feels like it wasn't really like, there wasn't that great a shooting all around. I mean, there were a lot of blowouts as well. There were a lot of just scoreless periods. I feel like in the first half of games, it was actually exciting to watch. There were some closer games, and by the time you're halfway through the second half, you already know like who the winner was. I think UConn's gonna win again. Like I said before, I had San Diego State going pretty far. They ran into UConn and just got whooped, but I would like to see NC State beat Purdue. I still stand behind. I don't like Purdue. I don't like Zach Edey. I will stand behind
You
that.
don't like Zach Edey?
I'll stand behind it. He is Joel Embiid.
No.
Yes.
Nah,
Yes.
that's
I can agree
going.
with
Really?
I hate Zach
Man.
He's back.
Significantly less skilled than Embiid, but in terms of like ability to watch, yes.
Yeah.
Like
I
kind of
understand.
like the play style.
I
in,
get what you
in
mean.
March
Oh,
Madness.
okay,
It's just
that's
so
different.
boring.
Yeah,
It's so Purdue's offense is
Yeah.
so boring. It's
Yeah.
give the ball to Edie, and then when he gets doubled,
Mhm.
he passes out. And I mean, granted, if I were a head coach and I had a 7'4" guy,
Yeah,
I'd do the same. But it's not fun to watch. I want to watch a team like Oakland, you know.
Dude,
I want
I-
Jack
ooh.
Golke shooting 10 threes in the
Yeah.
Final Four.
Shout out to that guy, man. Horizon League.
I know,
100%.
dude. And he was like, he even said that he doesn't see himself going to the NBA. So he's just like living for the thrill of what he's got now. And I was like, that is so awesome to have that. But I heard some people say that he would be a good fit for Miami.
Yeah, no, they had Duncan Robinson.
Max
this guy was a
Strus.
D3 guy, you know,
Yeah.
that just got like undrafted. And Miami always does that. They always get like these undrafted guys.
Yeah,
that
they were
just
s-
turn into
yeah.
really good players. He could be one of those guys. Absolutely.
I would honestly, I would love that. I would love to see him do something in the NBA. I mean, will it happen or not? I don't know. But of all of the players in this tournament, he was probably my favorite to watch. Like it was him and then Zach Edey. I know we just talked about like Zach Edey's kind of boring to watch, but I mean like when he racks up 40 points and 16 rebounds, that's entertaining to me.
When you're 7'4", man.
When you're 7'4", it's hard
Go
to
the
stop
line,
you,
like,
which is also
15 times a
entertaining.
game.
Free throw merchant.
Yeah, he missed like almost every free throw I watched of him though. So like,
Yeah, I was happy when that happened, but
I mean, another player that I was like super shocked, I guess, to see was Mark Sears hitting 7 consecutive threes in the Clemson game. That was insane.
Bama can shoot the lights out, man. That's why, like I said, if any team still left in this tournament, if Bama is on from 3, they can give UConn a game. It'll be close if Bama can shoot 46%, but I think they're the only team that can really give UConn a true test.
No, that's very true. Alabama, I mean, they're just such an offensive powered team. When it comes to the defensive end, not so much. That's why I didn't have them going very far. I mean, you see the game against like North Carolina. I mean, they gave up 87 points. Yes, they basically outshot them, but I mean, they still gave up 87 points. Clemson, they still gave up 82 points. Even in the first round, I mean, they won 109-96.
Against
So
Charleston.
it's basically against Charleston, yes. So I think it's a matter of them just like out shooting or like outscoring their opponents. That's why I didn't have them going far. So I mean, the fact that they went this far honestly is really surprising to me. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen against UConn.
Yeah, no, I don't think their offense is going to be enough to outweigh their defensive struggles for UConn. That's just, I don't see that happening. But with that being said, we're going to move on into our next topic. That is, unless anybody has some final thoughts for the tournament.
Real quick, what are the Wisconsin teams doing? What are
Oh,
you
dude,
doing?
yes! I was going to bring that up, yes.
Oh my goodness, Wisconsin. We need to recruit better.
I know.
We do not have the players to play in the NCAA March Madness tournament.
And Marquette, like, what's going on? This is the second year where they should have done way better. And, like, they were lights out with threes all season. And then comes the tournament, they can't hit anything.
yeah, they. Oh my.
And they
I think-
relied way too much on Kolek, again, just like
Yeah.
they did last year. It's like they didn't learn anything from last year.
Yeah, I want to say in the first half of that game against NC State, I think they shot like 13% from.
Yeah,
three.
it
I think
was
something
really
like
low.
that.
It was, yeah.
It's
It
really
was like
bad.
11 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have that. I don't know if the lights are too bright for them.
Oh, dude. I mean, it's Wisconsin. I think it is.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to the women's tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I know we don't
Mhm.
have to cover it fully, but I just want to say I have watched more women's basketball this year than I ever have before, and it's really awesome to see faces like, even though I'm not the biggest fan, Angel Reese, and then Caitlin Clark, Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers. They've really revolutionized the women's game of basketball, and at some points throughout like March, I found myself wanting to watch the women's games more. These past two games, Iowa and LSU, and then followed by UConn USC, was probably two of the best games that I've watched. And I just want to say, shout out to the women's tournament. The women actually have stars that they can actually build a brand around. And I've never been more excited to watch a women's Final Four. And that UConn-Iowa game this week is going to be really awesome.
I mean, it really is amazing.
Caitlin Clark is just
Yeah, they're like,
wow.
all those players that you mentioned are just incredible, and they're going to completely change the WNBA. Something I thought I would never say.
Like I've heard like people in like our sports department talking about it. Like I've been here 3 years and it's been all about like the men's March Madness.
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard anything about women's March Madness until like this year.
Yeah, it's just
Like
it's
the most I've heard about women's in like the past 5 years is like the scandals. Like, oh, they get this much, we get this much. Like I'm actually entertained. Like I can watch it and I can be like, that's really good. Like that's cool. Like they're amazing to watch.
Watching
Oh,
Caitlin Clark
100%.
play, it's like every time she has the ball, it's like you have that like your eyes are glued to the screen because you don't know what she's going to do next. And Haley Van Lith got turned into burnt toast this week.
Yeah, that game against LSU was the first women's game that I've actually watched front to back, women's college basketball. There was that one time when she like went behind the back and just like pulled up from 30 feet. And like I literally got up out of my chair and I was like, oh my goodness. 'Cause
Never done that for a women's game before.
Yeah, you don't see that. You don't see that. And so, I mean, Brendan's absolutely right when it comes to like stars because they have to play the 4 years so they can like build around them. There's traction, I guess, behind these matchups. With men's, it's just a lot of one and dones, so you don't really see those stars that you can like build upon throughout many years. But yeah, Caitlin Clark is just absolutely
yeah,
sensational.
absolutely. Before we move on, I do want to say a quote that I'm just like, I don't agree with at all. Shaq said, I think it was today, he said that, Angel Reese is the best player in general to ever come out of LSU. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, he even said ahead of himself, which, I mean, even
Joe
that's
Burrow,
wrong.
man.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. That's exactly who I was thinking of. Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson. I mean, you could just name like the players from that team, and I would even say they're better. No disrespect to her, because she's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just there's players that are better.
There's acknowledging women's basketball, and then there's pandering.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Angel Reese, but I mean, I can think of at least 10 people off the dome from LSU that are way better to the LSU than she is. It's, no disrespect to her.
No
It's
disrespect.
just-
It's just the way it is.
It's just completely pandering
Yeah.
to. But it is what it is.
Well, with that being said, we're going to move on to our second topic of the day, the land of football. A lot of stuff has happened here. I mean, there's been 2 new rules in the NFL. The UFL has started, and a major trade happened this morning, which is the first thing we're going to cover. Stephon Diggs becoming a Texan for a 2025 second-round pick, and the Bills get, I believe it was a third and a fourth? Or
It was a fifth
a fifth and a sixth? Okay, well, I had that completely backwards, but still, I mean, for a 2025, I would assume they would do a 2024 second round pick for, I mean, their best offensive player besides Josh Allen. So to me, that was a shock when I saw that this morning, but I want to hear from you guys. Let's start with Austin.
I said before that the Bills window was pretty much closed, like for Super Bowl, and now it's just
Now it's
cemented.
completely shut, yeah.
I mean, you give up Gabe Davis, and when he was gone, I figured, okay, they're just gonna stick with Diggs, and then they do this, and they don't even get to use any of the picks this year.
I know,
like this
yeah.
draft. I personally, Diggs he had a down year. He wasn't that good, but I mean, still, he had enough status to get something better than a fifth and a sixth.
Mm-hmm.
Also, then on the flip side of the coin, there, Texans, if they weren't heavy favorites to win the AFC South, they're going to now.
They
It's
100% are.
They're probably going to be. I'm sorry, you just can't.
The thing is you're right.
I'm not disagreeing.
It's just such a
They've
crazy
acquired
roster.
so much
I'm
in
just
a short
wallowing in
amount of time.
shame.
I mean, you guys have still picked up good pieces.
You guys will be second. Don't worry.
You got Snead.
Yeah.
You'll squeak in the wild
Yeah,
card.
it's Snead and Ridley.
No, I mean I'm perfectly. I think we still had the best offseason in football, but I just that one stung to wake up to this morning.
Yeah, Houston, if CJ Stroud could have, kind of a sophomore slump, but I don't think he will.
Yeah.
And
kinda
if they
hard
do,
to.
if they
Yeah,
do
with
good
those
enough
weapons.
in the draft, just get enough backup players or help role players, it's they're not going to make mistakes like they did in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Now that everyone has experience, I would love to see them just whoop the Chiefs.
Yeah, and
personally.
I would love to see that too. And with the draft coming up, I feel like if they could draft almost any position, and it would still boost them. Even if it's not a position of need, it would still boost them in the long run. So that's just it's like you said, it's incredible with how much they have improved in such a short amount of time. It's going to be 2 years ago that they were the worst team in the league, and now they're contenders in that short amount of time. Man, I wish.
Yeah, for me, I'm a Stephon Diggs hater. I think he is one of, if not the biggest diva in the entire NFL. I remember watching in the playoffs last year when they were winning, and he was complaining that he wasn't getting the ball. So I feel like that's just the epitome of Stephon Diggs. As for the trade, though, as you were saying, the Bills' window is closed. Josh Allen had the second most turnovers last year, and now Curtis Samuel is his wide receiver one. That is just, and they are wasting his prime just completely. You have this amazing quarterback that you drafted, you've developed, you've stuck with, you gave him this big contract, and then you're just oh, okay, all those weapons that you had? Yeah, no. We're just going to give you Curtis Samuel, James Cook, Dalton Kincaid.
Shakir.
Yeah.
That's-
And a very
Yeah.
maybe above average offensive line. But yeah. For the Texans, though, I mean, that was kind of their thing last year was they didn't have a wide receiver one. They had, serviceable guys. But now you added Diggs, you added Mixon, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Stroud is not going to have any pressure on himself, especially with the boost in the defense that they've made. Stroud is just going to basically sit back there, throw the ball, hand the ball off, and win games.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you said, the Bills really just dug themselves in a hole that they can't get out of anymore. I mean, their receivers are almost as bad as the Giants. I mean,
Yeah.
the only difference is that I feel like Curtis Samuel is more reliable than Sterling Shepard.
And you have Josh Allen throwing to you.
And yeah, but this year he's gonna throw 87 picks because he's got no one.
It'll be like the Jameis 30-30 kind of year.
Yeah.
That is actually so real.
Yep.
And his running back is what? Is it
James
James
Cook.
Cook?
It's James
James Cook is the set starter
Yeah.
because they flopped their running back so much. I never know
For the
who's
past
starting anymore. Yeah,
10 years.
it's ridiculous. Which is why last year I think they should have traded up and got Gibbs or Robinson, but oh well. I mean that's on them.
I guess I'll go a different approach to this. We've kind of described the whole entire team aspects. I want to talk about what the salary cap has done to both these teams. Buffalo used a ton of money on a guy like Von Miller, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, obviously Josh Allen. When you pay that quarterback that amount of money, you have to shed some of your talent elsewhere. And Buffalo had to do that this offseason, losing both of those star safeties, Hyde and Poyer. They had to cut Trey White. Somehow, Von Miller's still on the team with that contract.
Somehow. Yeah.
But, they couldn't re-sign Gabe Davis, and now you have to come to terms with this whole entire Stephon Diggs situation. Just looking at the roster overall, Josh Allen is going to have to do what Caleb Williams had to do for USC this year, which is play hero ball, and you kind of just have to see what happens. And Josh Allen has that, kind of screw it mentality, not going to slide when he's, about to get hit and everything. He's going to probably have to put up 30 points a game. Because looking at their depth chart, your number one corner right now, and then as a Packers fan, Rasul Douglas is a great guy, but he's not a number one. That pass rush is still going to be good. They've lost a lot in that front seven. Obviously, your number 3 receiver is Justin Shorter, who was a 6th round pick, and I'm a draft geek, and I don't even remember where he was from. Maybe Florida, if I'm correct. But just looking at that,
Poverty.
it's a complete different situation to what Houston's done. They have a quarterback on a rookie deal. They took advantage of a trade that they made, which was from Minnesota a few weeks back. They traded down 20 spots, and they could still get a guy like Stephon Diggs without having to give up that capital. Ian Rappaport posted a tweet this morning just saying, like, you can still drop down 20 spots and you can still do this. You can take a, pure, like, number one wide receiver, and you still got Nico Collins. You still got Tank Dell. You still got Robert Woods, who's old, but, he's still that valuable slot guy. You got John Mechie. Noah Brown's not a slouch. You still got Dalton Schultz at tight ends, picked up Joe Mixon. You still got Damian Pierce as a backup plan. That's just their offense. They had a ton of cap space. They went and got Danico Autry, Danielle Hunter, Aziz Al-Shaair. Like, Houston, like, you got a second-year head coach. You got a second-year quarterback. I want to applaud Nick Caserio, their GM, for taking advantage of this cap space that they had. They still have a need at linebacker and a second corner, in my opinion. But Houston is, if I had to guess right now, you could convince me that Houston is right now the second best team in the AFC behind Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would
can see
even
that.
I would even put them ahead of Kansas City, to be honest. I'm just not too confident in them. But what is your what's the target that the Bills should draft for? Is it receiver
It's-
after this, or is
so,
it O-line?
It's definitely a receiver, but I honestly think they should trade their first round pick for Brandon Ayuk. Because he's got a contract
Oh.
coming up. San Francisco's going to be in, salary cap danger here a little bit, and they don't even have Brock Purdy on a new contract yet, depending on what that's going to be. I think there's a clear drop-off behind the big three receivers. You could try trading up for a Malik Neighbors, but for Neighbors or Dunes, you might have to get up to, like, Chicago, Atlanta. Maybe Tennessee wants to get a haul, but it doesn't seem like they're in that kind of get picks mode because with the moves they've made. But I think it's interesting to look at, like, the last two big trades, and it's like it's 2025 capital. The Snead trade, the Diggs trade. Why is it 2025 capital? Why is it not 2024? That's just a big question that I have. I don't know if they are.
Oh, I didn't
I don't know
notice
if the
that.
NFL isn't a big fan of this draft class past, round 3 or whatever. But I think it does take a drop off. But there's a lot of depth in this class of certain positions, especially for a
O-line.
team like Buffalo, who I think there's a lot of depth at receiver like there is every year. But it's a peculiar move, and I think it's a real. I'm a big team building guy. Like, this is a tale of two tapes here. Like, you got a team that's got the stud quarterback, and now they're having to go through the ramifications of paying that star quarterback versus Houston, where you got him on that cheap rookie contract. You can build up the team and just kind of just say screw it and pay everybody money like they have. They paid Danielle Hunter $49 million, and $48 million of it was guaranteed. Like, you can do that with a rookie contract. So Houston is, I love what they're doing. In Buffalo, this is what happens. Salary cap is real. I don't care what New Orleans Saints fans say.
Man,
They
that's-
ignored everything. I would like to say I did call this trade approximately a month ago. We were talking about it on your show, and I said the Bills need to get rid of Stephon Diggs. Now, I think they handled it the complete wrong way, acquiring a 2025 second, and not only trading Diggs, but 2 picks as well. Just, I don't know what Buffalo was plotting there. For Buffalo, it's over. They win now for the past 3-4 seasons now, and just couldn't get past Kansas City. The Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid effect, and now, to your point, they're suffering salary cap, and they had to shed, Poyer, Hyde, Miller's probably going to end up being gone before it's all said and done. Getting rid of Gabe Davis and now Diggs. Buffalo just has re-entered poverty, and Josh Allen, just, I feel for the guy because I actually still do believe in him as a quarterback. That being said, for Buffalo, Houston, as a Titans fan, it pains me to say this, they're stacked. I am just in shock just looking at their team. I mean, their wide receiver 5 is Noah Brown, who a lot of teams would kill for as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. And just with all the offseason moves that they made, that offense is scary. You got Tunsil, who's easily one of the best tackles in the NFL. You got a rookie quarterback who came off one of the best rookie quarterback seasons ever. And even if he's due for regression this year, there's so many weapons around him with Schultz, now Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, to who we all mentioned. This offense is insane. And even with the middle of the pack defense, and their edge rushers have gotten significantly better, the Texans are a team to look out for. I don't think they're quite past Kansas City yet, because I've always said that as long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are together,
true.
I just don't see anyone beating them. They could have, a bag of rice at wide receiver, and they still.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That's it's
But
Nice.
but I still think Mahomes would figure out a way to win come the playoffs. It's truly insane just to see how much Houston has improved. Because to your point, Carson, even 2 years ago were terrible, had the second pick in the draft, and they go C.J. Stroud, and Carolina's kicking themselves to this day for taking Bryce Young. But yeah, it's really painful to say as a Titans fan, but the Texans are just. They're going to be so fun to watch, and we're going to get our butts kicked by them both games this season. I see no way with us contending. I thought after the Ridley signing we'd have contention, and now with Diggs to Houston, it just completely shattered and killed any hopes of beating them this year. They have a cupcake schedule in the AFC South. They're probably going to win 12 games this year and contend for the first seed.
Yeah, the future, not even just this season, but I mean beyond, is looking really bright for the Texans. I mean, I really like their coach. I personally think he should have won Coach of the Year.
Correct.
But as for the Bills, them drafting the past few years hasn't really helped their case either. Like, I was not really sold on who they were taking in the draft each year. Like last year, I'm blanking on the tight end that they took in the Kincaid. It was Dalton Kincaid.
Yes.
And he was like,
Good, but like
yeah, but he wasn't
you don't. That's not your
Yeah.
long-term solution.
yeah,
for-
exactly.
And they
It-
didn't need a tight end.
No.
Exactly. They already
Like-
had Dawson Knox.
Yeah, I
who was
thought
more
Dawson
than
Knox was all
serviceable.
right, and then they went Kincaid, and I was scratching my head because there was other players that they could have taken for their needs. It's just that was a real head scratcher for that
then
pick.
I
And
think
even if they
before
go-
that, I think they picked Kyrie Elam the year
Yep.
before.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was
Not working
that
out
one
well
I
at all.
knew right away that was a terrible
Yeah,
pick.
like I don't know what their GM is doing. Like the Texans heard Stephon Diggs and they were like, like we get Stephon Diggs and
think-
something else. Like,
Yeah,
I think
they were
the
like,
and-
do continue.
The and was part of the contract
Yeah.
that they had to take on.
Yeah,
Even though they
yeah.
only take on 18 million, which is probably about the same amount as Jerry Judy's getting, which I don't even want to talk about that right now. But
yeah.
The $30 million cap hit is a lot, but when you look at it across the league, like Denver probably wishes they were only at about a 30 million
Yeah.
cap hit for the Russ contract, but
But like I said, that being said, though, I do think Buffalo made the right decision getting Diggs. I think they handled it the wrong way. But to your point, Creston, I am just not high on Stephon Diggs at all. I mean, just even that tweet last night in response to saying, "Are you sure?"
Yep.
Like in regards to him being pivotal to Josh Allen's success, Josh Allen will be more than fine without him. I 100% believe that. I still think the Bills will be, at best, a wild card contender. They're probably on the way out now. But even still, as long as Josh Allen's their quarterback, and to my point, if you can just get him 4 middle of the pack wide receivers with as pass heavy as that offense is, I still think they'll be fine in that regards. So I think they did the right thing by getting rid of Stephon Diggs, but the capital that they acquired and versus what they gave up is just mind blowing to me.
It's mind-boggling. That's 100% for sure.
Yeah, Mason hit it on the nose. This is an absolute masterclass by Nick Caserio. This is exactly what you need to do to maximize your potential in order to win the Super Bowl. Personally, I have them as my Super Bowl favorite coming out of the AFC right now. Obviously, that's on paper. Obviously, you got to put it together. You got to get past Kansas City. But as of what their roster looks like right now, I mean, wow, they look fantastic. I mean, you get these guys like Daniil Hunter, now Stephon Diggs. Those are big-time players that impact winning directly. And it's just insane what they've been able to do with the cap money. You wish like the Packers would do this kind of thing. The Packers would never do this. Gutekunst would never make these kind of moves, even with the cap space that they got.
he made 2 this year.
I know they don't have a history of doing that, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it was weird because the Texans obviously traded with the Vikings, with the picks. So they had 2 second-round picks this year, and the Stephon Diggs trade, they gave up the second-round pick next year, which is really weird. I don't know why the Bills would do that. Like we've said, I mean, the Bills are just in poverty right now. They have literally nobody. And I talked about on this show a couple weeks ago about Josh Allen having to do everything. And now this is just like an impossible task. I mean, putting him in this situation, I mean, like we said, 30 year probably. Because, I mean, what is he going to do? Who does he have to throw to? He's going to have to do everything. Every single play call is going to have to be him playing Superman, essentially. But Texans, I mean, man, they look absolutely unstoppable right now. with all
on
their assets,
paper,
On paper, one of the best offensive teams
Yeah.
in the league right now.
Well, and it's also last season, too. I think this 2-year stretch of off seasons is probably one of the greatest I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
With
really
who
good.
they've drafted. I mean, you got O'Roy and D-Roy, and now you get Danielle Hunter and Stephon Diggs to add to a team that 2 years ago was like
Picking
the
second.
number, second round, second overall pick. So
It's just a great story.
absolute masterclass. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Can I bring up two more things? So I want to say, for Buffalo's point of view, I think this is a good opportunity for Joe Brady to show what he can actually do. He's their offensive coordinator. He was their quarterbacks coach, and then I'm blanking on their former
Dorsey.
Ken Dorsey got fired mid-year. Brady took over. He's was potentially like a head coach candidate a few years ago from what he did with LSU with Burrow and Jefferson, all those guys. This is a opportunity for him to really show what he can do with this kind of weaponry, because there is not really any. So I'm really intrigued to see what he can do. And then my second point is, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but there was a report on Twitter about a week or two ago that they were going to do, they've been doing the Hard Knocks in season, but they were going to do like a full division of it. I feel like the AFC South is the clear and obvious
Oh,
choice.
yeah,
because
100%.
Number one, Houston, we just talked about Houston forever. Tennessee is, you want to see what they do with the new head coach, second year quarterback. You're really kind of trying to see if he's the guy.
Because he is.
Okay.
And then you got, Indianapolis, which you didn't get to see much of Anthony Richardson. He was a star for those 3 weeks. I'm really intrigued to see what he can do. I really love what Indy has done. Just, it's a complicated topic with how they approach like their homegrown talent versus free agency. But and then you got Jacksonville. And
Terrible.
Jacksonville's
Whoa.
kind of in a
Way down.
flux talent right now, just because what they've done at receiver. It's one of the most fascinating divisions in the NFL right now. I think paired with the NFC North as well, that would be the only other one I could see. But I'm really interested to see what they do with that. Like, this division as a whole is insane.
The
Yeah.
AFC South went from being one of the worst
Yeah.
divisions
To
2 years
one of
ago
them.
to one of them,
Yeah.
like the division to watch this year.
Yeah.
So
And
that's encouraging.
It kind of flipped like that because I remember probably 3 years ago maybe the NFC West was the best division
Yep.
in football, and now it's mid. There's only one, maybe two teams that are worth watching in that division now.
Are you counting your Seahawks in that?
No, no. This year, I've full-fledged. We're going to be like a top 10 pick next year, 100%. But with this trade, I know we're going to move into our next topic here real soon, or the next part of this topic. But would you guys put the Jets over the Bills in next year?
Absolutely.
I agree.
It depends on Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's 100% what it comes down to. Personally, I'm just not sold on the Jets quite yet. I think they slightly edge past Buffalo right now, but it honestly all depends on Rodgers. At 40 years old, coming back from an Achilles tear, I mean, it's just, I don't know if he's still got it in him to be A-Rod, but if anyone can do it, it is Aaron Rodgers. So
And the big difference between the Jets and the Bills is the Jets actually got people. They didn't lose people. They got Tyron Smith. Obviously, he's old, okay, injury prone. Mike Williams, okay, he's old. He's injury prone.
old injury
Yeah,
prone.
I was
They
going to say,
got-
ask
they
me in
got-
week 6.
They have
Yeah.
weapons though. They got players to make them better. So I mean, they're obviously moving in a better direction than the Bills are right now. So
They do have better rookies too.
That's
I mean,
true.
they did have Sauce and Brees. They
Garrett
kind of
Wilson.
had they kind of had a Texans thing, offensive rookie and defensive rookie.
Yeah.
So I feel like their future's better. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be on Rodgers whether he's going to play even close to what he used to.
If one of those tackles gets hurt, it's over. They need to take a tackle in round 1, too.
100%.
Their tackles are injury prone. Their
Yeah.
receivers are injury prone. It's
they just need any old lineman.
They're-
like,
they're-
at all.
yeah,
Any
they're-
O lineman.
they're playing for this
Anyone.
year, and they do not care about past this year right now.
And the Jets did get Hassan Reddick.
That is
That
so confusing
that was a big one.
because they have so many pass rushers already. They spent a first-round pick on Will McDonald. He's not going to play this year.
Well, Will McDonald,
I mean, that
he's-
was their backup pick anyways. They wanted Broderick Jones.
Yeah,
so-
that and how that happened was just hilarious.
Hilarious.
It was absolutely funny from Belichick.
You could see it from a mile away, too.
Yeah, it was glorious. But with that being said, we're gonna talk about the UFL. There's a couple variations of the NFL, but the UFL has just started. I feel like the XFL is gonna be sometime this month, if not next. And Austin and I were chatting about what we see it as before the show, but I'd like to hear from you guys what your thoughts on the UFL are, if you like it or how you see it. We're going to start with Mason.
So actually, the XFL is a combination towards the
It
UFL.
was the USFL and the
Yeah.
XFL joined to make the
Yeah.
UFL.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that's why it's not called
Yes.
the USFL anymore.
Yes.
It's just,
Yeah.
so there,
So
so there's
they
no
merged.
XFL anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they
yeah.
merged.
They merged.
Oh, wow.
So, so the XFL, I want to combo this in with one of our topics that we were going to talk about. Like the XFL came up with the topic on the new kickoff format, which
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I really like. Kickoffs were getting kind of stale, in my opinion, in the NFL because guess what? They didn't happen. I will say the whole onside kick thing having to be like broadcast to everybody, I don't like that. But just in general, like the UFL, I think it's a really good idea because everybody loves football. Why not have a spring league? The biggest story that I saw is like 2 kickers. Like the dude that had not kicked a field goal since high school. He wasn't even a starter for his college team. And he hit this kick twice from 64 yards to win the game. And it's insane to me that that guy hasn't started and kicked since high school. Like, how do you not know that? And number 2, like, I don't know if you guys remember Destroying on
yes,
YouTube.
yes, I was
Yeah.
going to
So,
talk about him. Yes.
The guy was making YouTube videos and he was getting money off of YouTube and everything, and it's a whole big fiasco. It's the whole NIL situation. But after 7 years of not playing like football, I know he was doing like the whole entire the one-on-one stuff on YouTube and everything. I don't know if you guys have watched that. Like he was still producing YouTube videos, looking for an opportunity, and he's kicking in the UFL now. So I think that's really cool. Like I love watching these leagues. Like obviously like. The competition isn't necessarily the greatest. One of my personal favorite draft picks that the Packers had was Jace Sternberger, and he's one of the best tight ends in the UFL right now. So just watching those and just kind of reminiscing of like, oh, I scouted that guy for like my pre-draft stuff. So it's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. With like, I view it as almost like the G League for
Yeah.
football, because it's like most players either go from the NFL to there and then the back, or they start at the UFL and then they make their way up. Like there's a couple players that, like Philip Lindsay, he was on the Seattle Dragons last year. I don't know where he is now, but stuff like that. I feel like it's kind of cool to follow a player's career. Creston?
Yeah, I do like the way that they're kind of like doing their own thing. They're not like, oh, we're trying to compete with the NFL, or oh, we're trying to like be the little brother to the NFL. I like how they're just kind of like advertising as the UFL. They're kind of like advertising their teams, the players, like, oh, this league is doing these new things, like the new rules, obviously. So yeah, I just think that's kind of the cool things that they're doing. And obviously, like, you know, spring football, after the Super Bowl, you're kind of like, oh, what do you do now? But yeah, I feel like other than baseball, I feel like the UFL is kind of like something else to kind of watch. And I do like I like how they have the 4th down play for the onside kick.
Yep.
How you can do like the 4th and 15 instead of an onside kick. I do like that, and I hope the NFL.
Well, I mean, yeah, the way it's looking, like they already changed the kickoff rule.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's only a matter of time until they introduce something like that.
You're gonna freak out over here.
my God.
I mean, I love the idea of there being like another league, like we were saying, like it's like a G League, and it's. I was saying before to you how like if like a while ago if you weren't in the NFL, you're going overseas. Like there's nowhere really, or you're playing like an indoor league. But I'm glad that it's actually getting coverage, especially now that the NFL is getting more like popularity contest. You know, it's more about looking better than playing better. Now you have a league where it's kind of nobodies or people that really are trying to prove their talent. Like it's not I want to be the flashiest guy. It's I want to be like the best producing guy. And I think they have really good rules as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure the NFL has taken some from past like
Yes.
UFL and XFL like rules. So I think it's good that they have their own thing going, but yeah, I'm always like up for that, you know, especially as the NFL has just been on a decline. Not necessarily like players, but just like the organization as a whole has been on a decline. So it's nice to see something else rising. And like you were saying, like Philip Lindsay, like when PJ Walker got
Yeah.
signed to the Panthers, like it's always cool seeing like a kind of nobody go somewhere, or seeing like, oh, I remember
Tyler
that
Heineke.
guy on my like Madden mobile game like 7 years ago, and now like he's just here. But yeah, I think UFL's a great, like, I'm glad that it's actually taking off more now, where we would see like 1 or 2 year spurts in the past, but now they have enough, I guess, traction to really like take off.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the whole league in the future and this upcoming season. Which, before we get to you, Zach, just does anybody have a team that they watch for the UFL? Because
Memphis Showboats.
Not currently.
of course, not currently. Yeah, I don't either. My team used to be the Seattle Dragons, but I don't. I mean, I just found out that the XFL no longer exists, so that kind of makes me sad. So I'll have to find a team after this.
There
but-
is a Seattle team.
Oh, there is.
Yes.
Okay, what are they? Do you know what they're called?
Nope, never mind. I was
Oh.
thinking of St. Louis. My bad.
All right.
NFC West teams. My bad.
Yeah. All right. That's sad. Anyway,
Showboats.
Zach.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the UFL. Like we were saying, I think this definitely has a little bit more traction. I think it's definitely going to stick more than it has before. It was kind of hard before just because you don't have that star power, you don't have the marketability of what the NFL has. But you do see some guys, you see like AJ McCarron, Matt Corral, Wayne Gallman. You know, you see these guys that you have seen before in the NFL, and it's cool. Just like the PJ Walker story, you get these guys like G League is a great comparison because you can see some of these guys go from this league to the NFL, which just creates some really good stories. Almost seems kind of like the minors in NBA. It's the same kind of thing. I do really like the idea also of having spring football, especially for the people that like to bet. You know, we just bet on football in the spring now too. So
We are not promoting that.
Definitely not. No. But just going back to the rules, I do like how the NFL is taking a little bit inspiration of the rules with the UFL, specifically the kickoff rule. I think that was a great rule that they implemented. Then they had to turn around and ban hip tackling, which that's a terrible.
That absolutely
By the way.
abysmal.
Yes.
And we're gonna get into that after
Okay,
this
okay.
too.
So I won't go too into that because I do have a lot to say
Yeah.
about
That we're probably gonna finish the show with that
Okay,
because
yeah.
that one's just terrible.
Right, but I do really like the UFL. I like what they're doing. I think it's going to stick more, and I do look forward to watching it in spring. So
Nice.
All right.
I love the UFL. I love the concept of it. I love spring football. I love the different rule changes. I am, in terms of the NFL, the kickoff rule, in my opinion, is the stupidest thing ever. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It gets rid of any, like you mentioned earlier, surprise onside kicks. You basically have to telegraph onside kicks now, so the probability of even recovering an onside kick is gone. So then you say, oh, change it with the 4th and 15. How does no one see the problem with that? Say Mahomes is down 21 in the fourth
Oh.
quarter of a playoff game, and he gets 2 pass interference calls and leads
Yeah.
his team down the field with the other team out not having a chance. It's ruining the game. I hate the kickoff rules. And then this whole, like, you have to get it in the kicking zone and out of the back of the end zone. I already have enough trouble explaining to, like, my friends that aren't into football or my parents, like, when they ask all these different rules. I can barely understand it myself. And now, if you don't get a kickoff in the landing zone and it's a touchback to the 35, I just, ew. Like, I wasn't even a big fan of moving the touchback from the 20 to the 25 a few years ago. That kind of grew on me. This won't. I'm sorry, I hate it. And they want to decrease injuries, yet they want players to return the ball more. So how are you trying to reduce injuries for kickoffs by making every ball returnable? It just, to me, I dislike it. I'm not a fan of it. I hope this is this 1-year experiment only lasts 1 year. I do not like it. I hate 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 it.
That just felt like one of
That was
those.
a rant.
Yeah, that just felt
I
like
am-
one of those. You know what grinds my gears
And
segments.
then the hip drop tackling, it's just like, just put flags on him, like JJ Watt said. Just go ahead and put the belts around him and put flags on him at this point, because like how are you supposed to tackle a
Yeah,
defender now?
I feel like that is 100% tainting this game. Like, it's really aiding more so the offensive side, which I mean we talked about
beauty-
this. It's been going that way for the past few years.
I love defense. Like, it's not the flashy thing, but throughout all sports, I love watching a great pitcher. I love watching good defense in basketball games. And it just seems like more and more, like, the younger generation, they want points. But you're ruining football by doing that, because if you're not allowing the defense to do anything, every game's going to end 42-35, and it's just going to be so bland, predictable, stats out the wazoo. Like, congrats. But the art of defense is gone. Like, defensive-minded coaches, defensive-minded play styles, defensive-minded teams, it's going to go extinct. And I just dislike it. It's ruining the game of football. And Roger Goodell just continues to be my least favorite commissioner in all sports. It's just
100%, mhm.
despicable.
Well, imagine playing against the Ravens next year, right? You're playing against Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's coming at you.
Yep.
Right? You're taught
Yeah.
to go low against those kind of guys.
How do you tackle
Now
him?
you can't. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go right at him.
They'll stiff arm you into the ground.
Into the ground like Josh Norman, and you're just gonna come
You
another
just have
knee.
to hope that he
Yep.
like trips somehow from that.
Exactly. So
You can't go low.
Just lay down.
like we were saying, it's just
Save
so,
the embarrassment.
It's so pandering to the offense. I just think that they need to stop pandering to the offense. You know,
I
they
hate
need to
it.
let the defense actually play defense. Like I get it, injuries happen. It sucks. But if we're gonna talk about injuries, I think maybe we should like figure out the grass turf debate.
Yep,
correct.
First of
Yeah.
all,
And that's the risk
100%
of being a
agree.
professional.
That too.
That's the risk of being a
100%.
professional athlete.
yeah, it is.
Like you're getting paid millions of dollars. Like you understand the risks of going into a pro career of pro football.
So I just want to talk about the injury front on
Somebody
the
get him
kickoff.
a towel.
I want to talk about the injury front on the kickoff. The big thing that they wanted to do was not have like the guys being full-fledged speed, and then these guys, the return team turning around and getting blasted. That's why they have them 5-10 yards apart.
Great.
That's
so
fine.
That
Yes.
fixes the
Yeah,
tough problem.
that's yeah.
You said the injury thing. That's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
but
about.
that's
Yes.
what 65% of all injuries on kickoffs are.
Yes. And then the hip drop thing, I listened to a podcast. I don't know. I think it was, I don't know which one it was. But they were saying, like, it's all just based on, like, the looks of the whole entire tackle. Like, you could literally just lay on the ground.
Yeah, I
and
remember
just
hearing
kinda-
that. I think-
you could literally just lay on the ground and kind of, like, emphasize it a little more than it actually is. And, oh, guess what? There's a flag.
Yep, I think it was in the
it
same podcast.
The Ringer or something like that?
It might have
Athletic
been.
or The
I saw it
Ringer?
on
Yeah.
TikTok. So it was. It was from a podcast, but they were saying like it's basically up to the referees if
Yeah.
they want to call it or
And-
not at this point. Which is like you're
And
giving
the
them more
Game should have
power.
been
It's-
put in the referee's hands.
It's-
Exactly.
That's what we're doing now with all these
Yeah.
rules. It's more
It's-
on the referees. And
Yep.
sometimes the referees don't even know what they're calling.
Exactly.
It's just
They're not gonna know
ridiculous.
And all
anything
that's
anymore.
doing is just fully like promoting the script narrative over
Yes,
and over.
it
Like
just
if you're
opens the window.
if you're placing
Yeah.
all of this trust in the people that let the players play the game.
I can't wait for Patrick Mahomes to convert a 4th and 15 on a hip drop tackle.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like this onside kick, if they go to the 4th down route, like you're just asking. And then meme pages are going to complain about it, but if no one actually like says anything or comes out against it, it's just going to keep happening. And Goodell's going to be like, I like money, and it's, I hate it.
Needless to say, I will be drafting Derrick Henry on the fantasy team.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
you can't tackle it.
He's probably going to be like the second running back off the fantasy boards.
Yeah.
especially on the Ravens
Yeah.
too. Oh
I think-
my goodness.
I think I found why he's actually so upset about the kickoff rule. It's because the Titans don't really have that many kickoff returners that are viable.
Ooh, brutal blow. Ooh.
That's all I have to say.
All right. What are your guys' thoughts on the new tackle rule?
I hate that it's a 15-yard penalty, just because like that's the difference between somebody getting into field goal range and being
Mhm.
able to punt. Like if you stop on 4th and 1, oh, there's a flag, and now they have a automatic first down, and they're at the 27-yard line instead of the 45. Like I don't know, I just feel like a 5-yard penalty and not a first down would be more. Because what? Teams aren't going to learn. Like
Mhm.
you're literally basically teaching defense how to learn tackle football again, and that's just not smart. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It changes the whole game and not for the better.
I'll keep it quick, but I mean, just the fact that like I understand with the whole head hunting thing when they have that, but 15 yards for just tackling a guy wrong, like that is just it's comical now how bad the NFL is getting with these kind of like we saw with Clay Matthews, if you remember, it was like 2015 or
Oh,
something when he
yeah.
would have those roughing the passer penalties, and we thought that was bad then.
Mhm.
I mean,
Despicable. I'd kill to go back to that.
exactly. I would do anything, go back to be like, oh, that wasn't it. Now it's like, oh, great, it's 70-65, and Mahomes has 7 touchdowns and like 4
like a game of
converted,
Madden.
fourth and-
It's like
well,
Big 12 football.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like you were saying, everyone wants the points inflated and everything, but like that's not how the game works. Like it needs to be a clash of both, but
There just needs to be balance.
yeah,
That's
and
it.
it's so
just
heavily
favoring-
favored
it's just
towards
favoring
the
offense.
offense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game is sure to change within the next few years for the better or the worse. I mean, I hope there's some stuff that they implemented that they take away, but, you know, when it happens, we'll discuss it. With that being said, that's going to do it here for us on Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. We are going to get you back to some more music here on the station, and thank you for tuning in.